Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Slater. I'm the voice of Tagfer in Warframe. Thank you so much for playing. It's so exciting to be part of this amazing community and have a great Tenno conference.
Hey, Tennos. My name is Micah Mason, and I had the absolute... Hey, Tennos. My name is Micah Mason, and I had the absolute... Hey, Tennos. My name is Micah Mason, and I had the absolute pleasure of voicing... Hey, Tennos. My name is...
Ah, stupid words. Anyway, I love it when you use the Bang McFlat. Keep being awesome, and have a great con!
Greetings, TennoCon. My name is Kieran Flitton, and I have the absolute pleasure of voicing this fellow right here. Thank you all so much for coming along this incredible journey with us. For your continued support, your enthusiasm, and your immaculate gameplay. We would not be here without you. Now, on to the next adventure!
Welcome all to TennoCon. This is Stefan Rudnicki, aka the voice of Albrecht and Trotti. I am so proud to be... You are late! I am so proud to be a member of the Warframe family. Welcome. I look forward to seeing you. Don't be late.
Hey there, Tenno, it's Ben Starr here. I play Arthur in Warframe 1999, and I just wanted to come on here and say, I hope you have an amazing TennoCon. I can't believe that I get to be a part of this community. This game would be absolutely nothing without you. So thank you for welcoming me, and I can't wait for us to go on this journey. So let's celebrate it together and have an amazing time. Lots of love.
So, you coming to TennoCon, Alpha?
It's a party, Tenno. See you there.
Amazing. Hello, everyone. Woo! Big round of applause for our amazing voice actors who wanted to say hello. And welcome to the TennoCon 2024 Sounds of the System panel. My name is Zach, and we have a fantastic hour of auditory experiences for you all. But before we dive right in, it's my honor to introduce our panelists for today. To my right, you'd recognize that voice anywhere. It's Rebecca Ford.
Hey, everyone! Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. I'm very excited for the panel, Zach. It's going to be awesome.
Me too. Next up, a man who loves walks in the park, but mainly just to record the sound of snapping twigs. It's Erich Preston.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Hello.
On his right, a newcomer to the TennoCon stage, but a master of sound design. Please welcome Mark Perquin.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out.
Next up, a familiar face who makes music for space. It's George Spanos.
Hey everybody, great to see you.
Last but not least, a special guest who you have most definitely heard before. It's Matt Chalmers.
Hey everybody, thank you.
All right, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Our first topic of today is music and effects for quests. Let's jump back to December. Erich, Reb comes to you and says, we have an 8-legged creature that players are going to fight. What's the first step you took to create such a unique boss theme?
This was an amazing enemy from the get-go. The concept art looked phenomenal when it came across my desk. And I think the first thing that we started thinking about was what the voice would sound like. The writers put together a really cool language called Void Tongue. And I think naturally we're like, yes, we need to do Void Tongue. So a lot of his barks, ability barks, are all based in that language. And Mark and I actually did a session for that where we recorded a lot of the dialogue, and then it's kind of manipulated and pitched down to eventually form the final sounds that you hear when you fight this guy. And yeah, a lot of the Void Tongue stuff that we started there eventually made its way into the music as well.
I love it. Now, when you guys are creating themes for bosses, do you get to see the earliest concept of how a fight is going to go, and does it help you make the music, or do you create a song and then the designers go from there?
We actually usually get to see really early versions of the boss fight. So it's a combination between looking at the mechanics of the boss fight, looking at how the boss fight looks, and then deciding on the intensity level. Where do we want to go with the music? How do we want people to feel when they fight the boss? This one's a bit of a slam dunk in terms of theme. Big, imposing, menacing. Void tongue being the basis for the language. So it all came together pretty well, actually. And then at that point, getting on the phone with Matt and starting to talk about how we want to craft it.
Yeah, and we had done some Void Tongue on the combat, and I think you told me, like, let's push that even further. Let's feature the huge, enormous layers of vocals, and so I got Fran, who actually was the vocalist for Duviri, the opera singer. She actually helped me on some of those crazy Void Tongue chants, and her friend Anika. And the three of us just layered up all these, like, Ivbok Ishlung Jus Ve Shota Ra. And then we put a bunch of effects on them. And yeah, that was kind of the vibe for that boss fight.
Can we just get a whole live performance of Void Tongue from you here?
Sure, yeah. I won't have a voice after it, but yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's take a quick listen to what you guys came up with. Awesome. Love that.
It's awesome. Nothing quite resonates like the sound of the human voice, too, right? Like, whenever there's an opportunity to put some, vocals in something, it always gives it this much more flavor, right? It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking, Matt and I would always go back and forth with notes. More voice, totally. More layers.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, can we add another rhythm on top of all of those? Sure, let's try it. And then you just were like, yes, even more.
It adds to the playing experience when enemies with hands are jumping at you while vocals are playing as you're fighting them as well. Love that. The same update, Whispers in the Walls, also brought a brand new tile set to Warframe, Albrecht's Laboratory. Filled with beakers, gilded machines, and vials of elemental ooze, there are many things to break in this tile set. I must personally destroy everything in my sight, so I have to know how many glass jars were broken in the recording process, and did you have a favorite recording technique for the labs?
We're always breaking jars and glass. We have been for 10 years. So we have lots of sound libraries of all sorts of stuff that we've kind of broken over the years. But actually, Laura and Jeff were the sound designers who handled all the breakables. And as they started kind of coming in, we were starting to see all these kind of little levels of detail that were happening. You could break the little vase on the desk and the desk itself and the machines on the desk. So they did a great job going through and meticulously placing all those sounds for all the different items that you can break. And when they all kind of break together, it's very satisfying.
It is very satisfying, and players can even just walk around without breaking anything. You can hear the machine moving and all of that, so it's a very complicated tile set. Would you say it was the most complicated tile set you've had to work on?
I think so far, yeah. I mean, the open world stuff is obviously very complicated, and there's a lot that goes into the open worlds. But in terms of tile sets, this was probably the most complicated. But I knew immediately that the breakable stuff was working when I couldn't stop breaking things. It's like every time I'm running around testing, it's just constant breakables.
I love that. We also met some new faces in the labs. Let's talk about the Cavia. Reb, how did this cast of characters come to be?
Right. Well, when we originally came up with the idea that we would find Albrecht and Trotti's laboratory, we were trying to think of how we could make a syndicate out of kind of nothing, because we didn't know what the laboratory would host. And I think there was a moment when I remembered how the Russians sent Laika to space as the first animal in space. And I was like, oh, Albrecht would have sent animals into the void at some point, and they would have come back speaking in void tongue. And that seems like a really compelling way to start a character arc for Albrecht in some of his lesser known science, especially because we knew he had a bond with animals because of Kalimos from his entries. So the first one that came together was the Norg, and I was like, oh, sending a fish to the void and it coming back smart just makes sense. And then we actually had the tag for as an art asset. I think one thing that we learned in our pace of updates is if you have something and it can work in an update and you believe in it, just go. So we had tag fur, who is actually a deer species that we were going to use in the plains of Eidolon that never got used. So I was like, oh, he's going to the void. And the bird as well. I was like, sorry, folks, no planet Earth for you. You're going to the void. And we sent them all on their journey, and the rest is history.
I think I remember an early version of that, actually. That's
Yep.
right. And I think
Yep.
we had done sounds for it and everything, and then we pulled it.
Yeah,
at
and
that
I was
point.
like, I'm not going to waste work
Yeah.
into the void. So
There you go.
Yeah, so it's all, sorry, animals.
We're efficient in our casting.
Yeah,
for
people. Listen, we gotta do it.
Love it. And the sound team, how different was it setting up all this voiceover work for animals?
I mean, when we saw this, I think initially we went to, we're going to have to process the voices a lot, add a lot of animal sounds in between words. But as we began to receive the performances back from the actors, they were so strong that the decision was made to just feature them basically without any processing. I think there's a tiny little bit here and there. Bird 3 almost sounds like there's animal noises introduced, but that's just the actor's performance. So yeah, we just kept it super clean, super raw, and featured their great performances.
It's all about the casting too, right? Like, it's such an important part of the whole thing, and people don't think about that as much. It's like, obviously, great writing and everything as well, but when you cast the right person, it just works, and they embody that character, right? And it just makes our job so much easier too, so yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, getting your heart broken by a Stereon, you just end up as a talking fish in Warframe. That's
The ultimate payback.
Payback.
It's been fun. Yeah, the team that worked on that, the writing, everything was just really lovely to behold and watch it come together.
Let's check in on our cast of critters now.
Hey, how's it going? Are we winning? We all got something to do. Mr. Fishinacci's got his thing. Mr. Tagfir's got his thing. I got my thing. It's so nice.
Another day, another Netracell, another poke in the eye for the mother hugger that consigned us to this mess. Come on, let's roll. Are we heading out then?
Yep.
A new day dawns. Let us to work. Yes, go good. A good day to you. I love you.
I love that line so much. I love you. As you know, we had a follow-up update to Whispers in the Wall, Dante Unbound. Now, the team had a chance to cook up some unique vocals for this update theme, and they bring such a great tone to the update. Matt, tell us a bit about how the process of setting the stage for Page Master Dante went.
Yeah, well, we had a piece that I think we actually showed this at last TennoCon. A friend of mine, Alex Samaras, sang on it. And it was a section of an ambient track that I did. And I think it was actually word from Reb that was like your favorite section. And so we were like, how about we make a combat section or a combat track out of that section? So I got Alex back over. I wrote a new piece and featured the same melody, but like the combat version of it. And Alex just nailed it. He had done a bunch of throat singing and stuff for me as well. So he has like the ability to do the really straight, beautiful melodic singing, but then he can also do the really intense, like low throat singing. So we kind of just found a happy medium, and his performance was amazing.
I love it. And as you mentioned, the vocalist Alex Samaras does make a return, and we have a behind-the-scenes video of him recording some of the vocals for the Dante Unbound update theme.
Shotara Vagidlasho
Amazing.
Love it.
Such a great melody. There's a great little melody there. Fantastic.
And some more void tongue there, too.
Yes. Did Alex mention it was hard to sing in a language he's never read before?
It was actually okay, because he's also a jazz singer, so he does a lot of do's and da's and bips and bops. So I said, like, this is kind of how I'm saying it. Sorry, writers, if we pronounced anything differently than what you imagined, but, we just used our best interpretation of it. So, yeah.
Hopefully there's no void tongue specialists out there.
Yeah, anyone?
Scrutinize.
I love the void tongue and jazz connection.
I know.
right
I feel like jazz just caught so much shade for being also like jazz is like the void tongue of music. So
I love it. Well, let's switch gears to a very recent quest, Jade Shadows. Ooh.
Spoilers, kind of.
Spoilers
Actually,
ahead.
yes, spoilers.
Yes. Rep, this quest is an incredibly unique storyline for Warframe. Keeping it light on spoilers, did you have an idea of where you wanted the music to transport us with the story of Stalker and Jade?
Yeah, so Jade Shadows as a quest had actually been in development for about 18 months with different story beats, and it was like we wanted the New War ends, Stalker story, and we kept churning, and then when Mike Skyers proposed the choir frame that you know as Jade, it really made every piece of idea fit together with, oh, okay, Jade and Stalker are in the same update and they have a story together. And when Skyers called it the choir-themed frame right away, that set in motion a series of sound decisions. And then when the story finished, and we kind of like looked over the script, and it was, this is what's gonna happen. Like, how can you make this work? Because I don't think there's any way that the story we told in Jade Shadows would have worked with, like, of course, if you can't hear it, that's of course fine, but the music was an artistic choice to pair with the animations that you can see. So that, yeah.
Yeah, we took that theme and ran with it. And with the theme for Jade Shadows specifically, I think we wanted to bring together a lot of themes from older parts of Warframe as well. So we're bringing in, Stalker's theme, Jade's theme, tying it together with, the Naga drums. So there's a lot of pieces that we wanted to incorporate into this. So kind of this big ball of stuff, eventually throwing that over to Matt. And then when I heard kind of Matt's first draft, it was like, yes, this is totally going to work. The big beautiful section where the choir kind of swells and ascends. Yeah, it was kind of great from the get-go. And then after that, it was just on to polishing it up and working on different production elements.
Love it. And you guys got to work with a choir and did a lot of recording sessions for that. How was that experience for you for you guys?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I love being able to go to a studio and record live anything, any musicians, vocalists, and this was a special one because we were able to get 12 singers all in the same room, and hearing my theme the first time was just like, oh yeah, okay, that's perfect. That's way better than the MIDI. That was just a placeholder, and it was great.
Awesome. And we do have a behind the sounds look at how that choir session went. Let's take a look.
Get your Kleenex ready.
I'm Erich Preston. I'm audio lead at Digital Extremes. I've been here for coming up on 10 years and here to talk about the music and sound effects for Jade Shadows.
They kind of do a pitch for her landing, and then I guess you'll take that middle section as the loop, right? Exactly, yeah.
I'm Mark Perquin. I'm a sound designer on Warframe here at Digital Extremes. I've been here for just about 5 years.
We'll get those shouted as well as like an ah.
I've got a choir background myself, so when I heard that there was going to be the choir frame, I asked Erich if I could take the sound design.
That's one ability, that chord.
Right.
You can cast any of the 3 F sharp A, C sharp abilities. While you're up there, you can also cast those. Right. So we need to keep it all in the same chord.
When Mark was kind of workshopping his ideas for the choir. He had wanted to record a live choir. We were going to do it separately, but after I'd spoken to Matt and we decided to record a choir for the music, then we thought it was just a natural progression to do a session that included both the music and the sound effects for the Warframe.
So yeah, bass, tenor.
So we wanted there to be that choral aspect for sure, but we also wanted there to be a bit of dissonance. And add a little bit of that strange tone that you hear in the Warframe. So there's lots of off-key singing, lots of whisper shouting from the choir.
So we kind of played with all sorts of different vocal effects, chords, notes.
We wanted to tap into the strange sounds that they were able to produce.
The choir is so talented that whenever we would suggest ideas or want to try different ideas, they could reproduce that very quickly on the fly. It felt like sort of having your own live synthesizer, except they're human beings and they're amazing.
Cool. Was the tuning of those chords okay? All good?
Erich definitely had some great direction as to how he wanted the frame overall to sound. I had some specific ideas for the 4 abilities that I wanted to hear, and then Matt was able to pull that all together in a very musical way and in a way that fits with the music that we'd also recorded for Jade. All of the notes that you hear in the frame's abilities are all in the same key and in one chord actually that fit really well with the music that we'd already recorded.
Whenever you're in the studio recording, the magic and the feel that you get from live musicians, you just can't reproduce that. So that's something that we'll definitely be looking to do for score again in the future.
Amazing. Now, Mark, a choir background.
Oh.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes. Shout out to Amabile Choirs of Canada. Yeah.
Nice.
Local, very renowned local choir here. I grew up singing, so I've got a choral background. Yeah. I was very excited when I heard about Jade. I absolutely wanted to grab the sound design for her.
Was there
How come I'm
something
only
that you-
finding out about this now, Mark? Come on, where have you been hiding this?
Secret.
Might have come up in an interview, George.
Oh. What were some of the specific things from your time in a choir that jumped out when you were making the ability sounds for Jade?
Sorry, say that again, Zach.
What were some of the things that you had from your time in choir that jumped out right as you were making these abilities?
Honestly, a lot of the sounds in Jade and a couple people in the choir that we recorded with Matt remarked on this, that it's really a lot of vocal warm-ups that you're hearing in Jade. It's a lot of that whisper shouting, the dissonance. It's people loosening up their voices, and you just get some really cool creative sounds when there's a group of people doing that. And they play off each other as well. Yeah, it's just something that you need live singers to be able to do. Like Erich said, you can't just use a synthesizer for that.
I love it. Right, let's move on to our next topic, weapons and warframes. If you've seen a dev stream before, we love taking a look at how certain weapons and warframes are made directly from the desks of our sound designers. And we do have a few videos for you today covering all things Jade Shadows. But before we dive in, Mark, again, you had a chance to do some of the ability sounds for Jade, as we were talking about. How did that differ from previous Warframe sounds that you've worked on?
Yeah, I guess just coming back to the choral background, for Jade, I had a pretty good sense right out of the gate, the overall tone that I was going for. It wasn't something that I had to figure out or sit down and workshop. I had a pretty good sense in my own mind of the type of tone we were going for, and that's pretty similar to what you hear. And then for the more, to bring that into the Warframe language of sound design, Erich had some great design direction there as well. And in terms of dealing with the choir themselves, I mean, Matt's the choir whisperer over here. He's able to take what was in my head and just communicate it to them in just an incredible way and try out some new things too.
Well, Mark had a lot of great ideas, and I would just be like, okay, let's try that, and then basically direct them. If we're wavering pitch or something, I'd be like, if I go up, we're all going up, or if I'm like going up on this side and down on this side. So we just like got them all doing a bunch of experiments, and you'll hear it in the upcoming videos. They were put to good use.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a great library of sounds now with this choir. You're going to hear a lot of it even later on today on some of the 1999 stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my goodness.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's take a listen to what you cooked up.
Hey, I'm Mark, and I'm a sound designer here at Digital Extremes. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the sounds behind Jade's third ability.
Let's take a quick listen to how the ability sounds in-game. Now let's check out the Reaper session so we can peel back the layers that make up this ability's sound. Let's take a listen to just the choral sounds in this ability. Now let's mute the choir to hear everything else. That's good, but what really makes Jade special is all that choir, and so here's how that fits in. First, we have the initial impact. This is made up of a shout, some harsh whispers, and the choir singing a chord. We also have this sustained section, which represents the eyes that surround Jade during this ability. And making up this section, we have another more dissonant choir chord and some more sustained choir whispers. And now let's listen to these without any effects to get a better sense of how the choir sounds on their own. That's incredible, but we still want to add a bit of movement. There are a handful of plugins on each of these tracks, but this spin tracer is really doing some heavy lifting. It's kind of like a granular synth meets Doppler, and it has some pretty good visuals to show how we're throwing the whispers all around to add some movement. And now that we have Jade's voice nailed down, let's take a quick listen to the other layers that make up a lot of the impact and sci-fi elements of Jade's sound. We have our LF layer, truly a must for any Warframe. Some glass impacts with delay added for fantastical vibes, and some mid-frequency synth to round it all out. With an ear for these elements on their own, let's take one last listen to the ability in-game.
Love it. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Amazing. The whispering is making it very hard to play Jade late at night because they're all around your head and you're like, someone's behind me. Awesome. Of course, this update also featured a fan favorite character, the Stalker. Yeah, cheers for the Stalker. I love the Stalker. But more importantly, Stalker generously donated the blueprint for his sick ride, the new Stalker landing craft. There it is. Sound designer Chris Tizera is going to take us behind the scenes on how the sounds were made for this one-of-a-kind landing craft.
Hey everyone, it's Chris from the sound team. Today I want to show you how I did the sound design for Stalker's Terror landing craft skin. Let's go. For the Terror landing craft, I wanted to have sound elements that sounded ominous and powerful, just like Stalker. I also wanted it to be completely recognizable as Stalker's ship. But first, I needed realistic sounds for the landing craft's engine. Lucky for me, our team recorded jet sounds at the London Air Show a few years back. I used these jet flybys as a core part of my sound. Thanks, guys. First, here's the jet sounds on their own. Then I added some low-frequency droning and some aggressive thruster sounds. Now let's Stalkerize it.
Your sentence is death.
I started with the Stalker bowfire sound. First, I time stretched it, then I added some processing, then I ramped the pitch up over the course of the sound. Next, I took samples of Stalker's breathing, I pitched it down, and I added some processing. And here's the final result, the Terror landing craft taking off. And there you have it. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of TennoCon.
Love it. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. Chris is here right now somewhere.
Is Chris here?
So shout out to
Show
Chris.
yourself, Chris. Thank you. Now, we did have a taste of some Stalker gameplay with the Duviri Paradox last year, but his abilities got a fresh coat of paint for Jade Shadows. Sound designer Giovanni Agapito is going to show us how those ability sounds for Stalker were made.
Hey Tenno, my name is Giovanni and I'm a sound designer at DE. Today I'm going to show you how I created the sounds of one of the Stalker's abilities. First, let's listen to the sound in-game. For the Stalker, we wanted to maintain the balance between a very feared character, like an overall dark vibe, but at the same time without losing the game's sonic palette. For the punishment ability, I created 3 sounds that play at the beginning, middle, and end of it. Let's hear the first of these sounds. This one has some really cool layers, for example this energy layer that has a pitch automation and becomes more acute over time, creating a sonic tension until the Stalker releases the projectiles at the end. For the build-up sound, there are more tonal and sci-fi elements, as you can notice. One of the layers has a really cool automation in one of the plugins, which makes the sound becomes a riser until the last sound is played. Let's hear the sound of projectiles being released at enemies. For that, I created several whooshes using my own mouth and made them very high-pitched, distorting each layer a little to contribute to a more sci-fi vibe. After putting all together, this is what the punishment ability sounds like in-game. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching this behind the scenes, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Bye!
Thanks, Giovanni. All right. Before we move on, we actually have an audience question all the way back from a Dev Shorts in April. The question is, what is your go-to software for creating these sounds? Do you have a plugin or tool that you can't live without? We'll start with you, Erich, unless, Reb, you've been dabbling in some sound design lately.
Hey, I just do what Erich tells me when it comes to sound. So get in the booth, cry some more.
Yeah. Cry more.
Okay, yeah.
We use I use a program called Reaper. I think most of the team does too. Matt, you use Logic, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we use Reaper as our DAW. That's what you saw on the screen in the videos. And yeah, my favorite plugin is the L2 limiter. I definitely cannot live without that one. So.
Did they pay you to say that?
Some big L2 heads.
Lots of money
in the house. My turn, right?
Your turn.
Did you see the Spin Tracer? I'm milking every drop I can get out of that.
He's also got shares in Spin Tracer.
That's right. Another one that I probably put on, it's in every session, almost every track. Kilohertz has this little plugin called Haas, and basically what that does is just delays your left or right channel by anywhere from a few to 100 milliseconds and spreads your stereo image.
So you can turn any mono sound into a stereo sound, is what you're saying?
I think it already needs to be... No, you're right. It's my boss. You're right.
You're hired.
Yeah, for me, I think Q3, I really love Pro Q3, just great EQ. I like microshift as well, and I use that on all the Prime trailers to widen the voices and stuff. But at the end of the day, we get this question a lot too, but it's important to just not think too much about plugins and software and everything. And it's more about what you put into it and where do you start with, what the sounds you start with. Again, like the voice acting, it all starts with good source, right? So you have good source going in, and that's the big thing, and then the creativity behind it. Don't let that limit you in your creativity if you don't have a certain plugin, for sure. So,
I think the analogy that probably a lot of people here is easy to digest is if you've ever played the vocal patch on an electric keyboard, and you can hear the ahs. Doesn't sound like a real choir, but going back to the real choir that we were able to record and that source, that's what we're talking about when we talk about having good sources.
It's always unique, right? It's always a unique performer. It's in a unique space. It's a unique delivery. It's always going to feel different, and it's the magic there, right? The magic of the performance and of the sonic fingerprint, really. Yeah, it's so important for sure.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to a little plugin called Little Altar Boy. It was used a ton on anytime I need to have really low vocals and I'm doing it myself and I can't sing a certain low note. You can pitch it down, but you can also change the formant so you can adjust you can make yourself sound like a chipmunk and you get really high and nasally, or you can have sort of this dark sort of sound. And so for all the I think I'd pitch that down an octave, and you can adjust it to make it kind of sound natural. But I think it worked really well with the void tongue and stuff because it just sounds kind of otherworldly.
That's a great plugin. Yeah. Back that one up for sure.
Void tongue brought to you by Little Altar Boy.
Exactly. Just wait till you hear
Big Altar Boy.
Oh my God! Hey, I love the hey yeah. I sang it in my head for
That's awesome. Well, if you asked that question back in April, there you go. My next question for the cast is focused on our weapons. Many of our weapons can be identified just from their shot, reload, or swing. How do you craft a weapon's identity through sound?
Yeah, weapons are a really fun process, and I think everyone on the sound team really enjoys working on them. We all take turns doing weapons, I would say. But the core experience of doing a weapon is an iterative one. Because it's a sound that you hear so often, there's often a lot of time put into just playing with it. So after we've done our first draft, getting the character right, getting the punch right, and getting the power right, then it's just a matter of hearing it over and over and over and kind of sanding off all the rough edges. It's a super fun process, and each one is unique because we all work on them.
It's funny too because it's like you have to kind of be happy with what goes in, because if you try to change it later, you'll hear about it in the forum.
No bueno.
And but it's great though. It's like the fact that people get so attached to the sound of a weapon. It's just it's so awesome to see that the sonic identity is just so, it resonates with people so much. Sometimes in bad ways, but most of the time in good ways.
Seems like you're still traumatized from the Brat and Vandal sound change. And
a little trauma there. The heck, too, I think,
from
back in the day.
Yeah.
It was what the heck, because we changed it. But we changed it back, too, so that's okay. It's okay.
Now, there is such a thing as writer's block. Do you guys have sound block? Have you ever just been struggling to find that perfect identity for a weapon through the sound?
Oh, yeah, for sure, all the time. It's a totally normal part of the process, I think. I think with any kind of creative discipline, you're always going to run into a block or where the ideas aren't coming as easily. And usually, like you said at the very beginning of the panel, a good long walk in the park does the trick for me, at least.
Sometimes for me, too, like when that happens, I'll just go into the sound library, and instead of using search terms, I'll just randomly click on things and listen to them. And sometimes you come up with the most unique sounds that way, because something you wouldn't expect would be like, oh, that'll actually work really well for this weapon. And that's what gives you the unique kind of weird sounds, right? Is the unexpected. I find I do that a lot, actually. Yeah.
exploring old libraries that you've recorded that you're just like, when am I going to use this? But you record it anyways.
I've got stuff that I recorded a long time ago and come across it, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this sound. This is just perfect here. So yeah, it's always fun. It's like Christmas every day when you do that. So.
Love that. Well, a similar topic, but something more new/old. Let's talk about some 1999 stuff today. As we saw on the art panel, things are a lot more real. How was the sound design process for things that have a real-life counterpart? Was it easier or was it harder?
Mark, I'll let you handle that one, man, if you want. You've designed a lot of the 1999 stuff.
We're talking about. We'll leave the thing for later?
We'll leave the thing.
Okay, so working on 1999 stuff, I'd say it's more of a technical challenge, if anything, to get some of these real-world sounds into the game in ways that new systems that you're able to interact with things that you haven't really been able to interact with before, and figuring out how are we going to ground that in reality while also giving it that signature sci-fi sound that, that we love to put into Warframe.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to subtlety as well. I mean, in some of weapons, traditional Warframe weapons, we can go as crazy as we want, especially with the kind of the corpus stuff. There's really no limit to how wild you can get. For these, we're definitely taking it a more realistic, grounded approach, but we still love to put our spin on things. It's kind of subtle, interesting layers here and there that maybe are from a synthesizer or from just a weird library that we recorded a long time ago. So there is still a little bit of that Warframeization that goes into all the sounds we've been making.
Awesome. Of course, we have two familiar faces by now from 1999, Arthur and Aoi. You may have seen them walking around the convention, but the amazing Ben Starr and Alpha Takahashi lend their voice to these new faces. George, once there was a time where we were recording our own staff for Warframe characters. What's changed over the years now that we have these epic cinematic quests?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think like that it was from humble beginnings, right? Where it was pretty much all staff, like Darvo, Sargus Ruck, Lotus, obviously. And yeah, it was a lot of fun because you could just grab someone after lunch and be like, hey, can you meet me in my office and we have some lines to record? And it's kind of crazy too because one of the employees who impressed me the most, James, he's so quiet and he's so unassuming. He's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then he gets in the booth and he's like, rah! And you're just like, where did that come from? And so that was always cool. But obviously, as we've grown the universe and we've developed the characters, it's important to, seek outside talent as well. But we still use people from in the office. But yeah, it's always great, again, like the sounds, to have a mixture of different flavors in there, right? So, yeah.
Love that. Now, we do actually have a little tease of another character from 1999. Just a little audio tease. Let's take a listen.
A slug dares to show its face at night.
Ooh, who could that be? I guess we'll have to just watch and find out. Now, I know you guys had some fun with the music design for 1999, and we did get a little bit of a taste in Whispers in the Wall. But Matt, did it feel like you had a blueprint for 90s music when composing, or did you want to make something unique that could still fit within Warframe?
Yeah, well, it's a similar process every time. You got to do your research and figure out, okay, because you can say 90s music, but it's like what 90s music? So we narrow that down. We're like, okay, more rock, industrial rock, metal, punk. Okay, we're getting closer. And the first thing I did was that combat track that you saw in the subway scene last TennoCon, and that kind of became, I did a bunch of creating sounds and finding sounds for that. And then that session became sort of my template for where to start with a fresh piece of music. And that's kind of how you do it. You just start fresh, but you have all these sounds that you can pull from. So if I'm like, oh, I need a lead synth, and it's like, oh, well, I have 10 of them right here. Let's see if any of these work. And yeah, you just kind of keep working on it and talk to Erich. He's like, let's get it sounding more Warframe. Okay, what does that mean? Let's try some other thing. You experiment, trial and error, and eventually you have something in the game.
I love that. Now, it wouldn't be a panel without a little bit of a tease. Let's listen to an upcoming track from 1999.
little T.
Yes.
Love that. Excited to show you where that will play.
Worldwide premiere right there, right? Worldwide premiere.
What? Yeah. What?
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
World premiere.
World premiere.
That's one of the ambient tracks. So you heard kind of the combat version of that, Whispers in the Walls. This is the ambient version of it. So yeah, it really set the vibe. And as soon as we introduced that into the game, it was like, okay, yeah, locked in.
When we got that song, so we have like on our internal channels where we work together, we were really early in some of the 1999 world building for Feel, and we actually got that track, dropped it in the internal global channel and said, this song, that ambient track, everybody work to it so you can feel the tone of what we're going for. So that was one of the first like established tone pieces, and it's just, I'm so excited to have it in the game.
Yeah, and there's a theme in there that kind of became sort of the Warframe 1999 theme. So we'll be using that in other pieces, and that kind of just happened accidentally. It's one of those things where you write a set, you're writing different sections to keep it fresh. So it's not just one thing for 4 minutes and then it loops for an hour while you're playing. And Erich was like, this line right here, let's turn that into the main theme. So I was like, okay, cool.
It's always cool to evolve the universe too, right? Yeah. Even like musically and everything, and to hear how it's becoming something else, but yeah, still maintain some of those Warframe roots, right? Which is awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, we're trying lots of new stuff with the music this time around, and Matt's been killing it. So,
are we saying how many songs are in the demo tonight, or is that part? Or is that you tell me?
Would you like to?
We have 5.
Wow.
So
5.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
One demo.
In one demo tonight. Yeah. So stay tuned for a lot of music tonight. They're being very humble, but it is truly ridiculous the music tonight. So I hope everyone will enjoy it later.
Awesome. Well, we have arrived at our final talking point of the day, but it's a great one. Let's talk about the Atomocycle. Oh, yeah.
Look at that thing.
It's beautiful.
Crazy.
Mark.
Beautiful.
Tell us a bit about how the sound for the Atomocycle was crafted.
Okay, so we've come to the thing. So yeah, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. The Atomocycle, the direction on it was try and hit the engine as close to a 90s racing bike as you possibly can. So that was just a big challenge right out of the gates to get the engine to sound big and powerful, but also realistic. And then Erich gave some great direction as to where we could start to push some other things that the bike can do into more of the sci-fi realm, but really keep that engine grounded.
The technical implementation on this was super tricky. You tried a bunch of stuff, and yeah, you've been working a long time on it. It turned out great.
Yeah, a huge part of the work in this has gone into how are we going to get a bike to work in Warframe.
I remember you started on it, and I remember seeing like an early version of it. And I was blown away at that point, even just like with the technical implementation. It's a first for Warframe as far as like how it's all going in the engine, a lot of programming, a lot of cross interdepartmental kind of work there too.
Absolutely. I want to say thanks to Jem because I could not have worked on the bike without him.
Yeah, Jem's an amazing audio programmer.
Yeah.
He's great.
Shout out to Jem.
Jem. Yeah, and he represents Turkey on the team.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. So if you're here from Turkey.
Yeah.
Just to what you were talking about, George, yeah, the early proof of concept for the bike just had a sine tone as an engine to show that as the bike increased in speed, we could also increase pitch, and as the bike leans and does different things, that we could change the volume and pitch, and that's all thanks to this new tech that we have.
Like all the gears and everything, right? Like you were talking about that, how like you have an in-depth knowledge now of how like bikes work too, right? Like engineering-wise, because it's like you got to make it feel realistic in that sense, right?
Yeah, and how do we make it feel responsive as well?
To
all the user input. It's been a puzzle, but it's been a fun puzzle to work on. Yeah.
I love that. All right. Well, before we sign off, we have one more thing. It's time for some audience participation.
Yes, we need all of you desperately. It's very important. My shirt will make a lot more sense at the end of the night, but we do need a chant. So similar to last year where we had the New Year's countdown, we do need a chant this year. Erich has the recording, and I'm hoping that, Zach, you just kick us off, and we'll see what we can get from everyone here. This is the biggest room we've ever had, so this is our opportunity to get the most voices voices at once.
Yeah, look at all you beautiful people.
Yeah, so this is great.
I'm sure you're loud too.
What would you like us to say?
The instructions are very simple. You just have to chant the word online.
Online.
On the count of 3, give me your best online chant, online. Just like that. And we're going to do it 5 times. After 5 onlines, I'm going to point at you all, and you're going to give your best cheering applause. Everyone ready? All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my gosh. Wow. Do you think you got that one, Eric?
You're all hired.
Amazing.
Look under your seat for your paycheck.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we do have just time for one more question. I have to know, on the couch, what is the most difficult sound you've ever had to make in Warframe?
Grendel sounds. Uwu, burps, barfs.
Yeah.
We have a resident kind of burping specialist, Willem Schonken, who contributed his beautiful burping tones to Grendel.
Stay burping, buddy.
Stay burpy.
Okay.
Honestly, this bike, there were 3 animals that I had to put into it and trying to figure out how I could fit those in. If you listen closely to the demo tonight, you'll hear a lion, a tiger, and a bear.
Woo!
Oh my.
Nice. Yes.
Octavia, for me, I remember working on that like forever, trying to get all the music implemented, the sequencer, all of that. That was tough, but it was great, and proud of that one. But it was really hard.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to the Sounds of the System panel. Huge shout out to you guys on the couch for sharing us a look into your world. Huge shout out to the DE Sound team as a whole. They kill it with every single update. We'll see you soon for the cosplay contest.
See you for cosplay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.